Hello student. In the previous two classes I have discussed about the for loop and also while loop. So by using for loop and while loop I have executed a table of 1 to 10, and I have discussed that how it is easy to ease out the more complexity of writing number of lines of code. So by reducing the number of lines of code we can reduce the space of memory and also time. So today we are going to create a same table of 1 to 10, but that by using the do while loop. So do while loop, this is called a exit control loop. While loop, that is generally known as the entry control loop. So what is entry control loop and exit control loop? Let me discuss about. So here I will write the script, and before I start getting the table of 1 to 10, let me first discuss about the difference between the while loop and the do while loop. So what is exit control loop and what is entry control loop? So if I just write here while then condition, say the condition is I less than 11, right? Now if I write here document dot write hello, this hello will be printed how many times? 11 times. If this condition satisfies, that is I is less than 11. So here I have to declare a variable. So variable name I, and I will initialize the value of I to 1. That means the value of I that has been initialized to 1, and the condition will be checked during the time of entry. So before we execute this line of code, first this condition will be checked. If the value of I is less than 11, then only we will enter and execute this line of code, right? And every time it will check before moving into this block of code, it will be checked. This is known as entry control loop. So before we enter this bracket, this code which are written inside this bracket, so before we move inside and process the thing, that is this two code, before we run this two line of code, it will be checked whether I is less than 11 or not. If I is less than 11, then only we will enter this bracket and we will execute this two code. This will be printed and the value will be incremented. Let me show you. Now you can see this many number of times hello have been printed. So how many times? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 10 times. Why 10 times it has been printed? Because unless I will be less than 10, if after this increment I became yellow, so after 10 times increment, when I became yellow, at the time of entry it has been checked that what is the value of I. Now it has been found that the value of I is 11. So during entry it has been found the value of I, that is 11, then this code will not get executed. Now in case of do while loop, what will happen? So while will be written over here, WHILE. Here it will be written do. and this condition will be checked here, right? That means do instruction has been given, do, this code will execute, right? Before the condition has been checked, instruction has been given once, do, right? That means at least one time this code will be executed, at least for one time, right? Irrespective of whatever condition has been given here, at least for one time this code will be executed. After this code get executed, then the condition will be checked. Now if this condition will be checked, and that time if it has been found false, that means condition if does not satisfy, again after that it will not go and enter the loop. So the difference between while loop and do while loop is that this is exit control loop. Why this is known as exit control loop? Because these two block of code will execute once, and during the exit it is going to check the condition. That means irrespective of any condition, whatever condition you may provide over here, this code is going to execute at least for once, right? Now if I write here the value of I 12, right? So I have initialized the value of I 12. Now try to understand, if the value of I is 12, now find out this condition that I is less than 11. So this will execute until and unless I is less than 11, but the value of I that has been declared 12, before it start executing I of I, the value of I has been given 12, so this should not be executed. But in case of do while loop, it will at least execute once, and then it will be checked that the value of I is less than 1, and it will be found that the value of I is 12, then it will not execute further. Let me show you. So just see, now if I run here, see, at least 1 it will be executed in case of do while loop. Now if I convert this thing to while loop, simple while loop, then see, so I have converted the same into the simple while loop while the I value is 12. That means this condition will fail. Let me show you. Now if I go and run, refresh the browser, now see blank. Why it has been shown blank? Because this is entry control loop. During the entry it has been checked that the value of I should be less than 11, then only this code will be executed. But the value of I has been declared 12. How can this be below the 11? 12 can never be less than 11. That means this fails. This condition does not satisfy. These two code will not execute in case of entry control loop. Entry control loop means just simple while loop, right? So this will not execute, blank. But in case of exit control loop, when this condition will be checked at the exit time, that time do instruction has been given, at least once it will execute, and during the exit it will be checked whether this condition satisfy or not. That means at least for once the block of code will execute, right? So this thing will execute. We can also see the value of I. So if I just write here document dot write, now here just I want to see the value of I. So if I write here the value of I want to see, so okay, so I will just want to see the value of I, right? value of counter. Let me just check. So this code, this 2 line of code will execute at least 1, and this increment will happen at least for 1. That means I value will be 13. It will be incremented and it will become 13 and it will be shown. So this code will execute at least 1 in case of exit control loop. So let us just go and check. Now you can see hello, value of counter, that is 13. So you can see. So now let us create the table of 1 to 10 using this exit control loop, which is normally known as the do while loop. Now here, now first I will initialize, I will be 1. Now variable j, that will be also 1. So 2 variable have taken I and j, as also have taken 2 variable I and j for creating a nested formation of loop in the previous 2 cases in the earlier classes, for loop and while loop, where I have created the table of 1 to 10 in nested formation of loop. Here also I have to create the nested formation of do while loop, right? So let me start. So here do, then the code will be executed. After that while, so it will be checked that the value of I equal to less than 11, or you can say less than equal to 10. Both will work, right? So see, during exit it will be checked. Here I will write another do while loop, right? While here j less than 11, that will be checked, right? Now so here I am going to print document dot write, document dot write, right? So I am going to create a table of 1 to 10, so that I should include both I and j. So the table of I, right? The table of I into the table of I into j equal to the table of I into j equal to I into j. So this thing will be printed. The first, from here the value of I will be shown, right? Then it will be shown x, right? After that the value of j will be shown when this inner loop will execute, okay? Then it will concatenate, it will show equal to, and this is the multiplication of I into j table which will execute. Now so after every time I have to increment the value of I, so I will write j plus plus every time the increment will happen, right? And also I need to take a line break, right? So I will simply use BR every time I am going to take a line break. So after this execute, also we need to increment here the value of I. The value of I also need to be incremented, right? Otherwise how this I will become till less than 11? No, that is why I has to be incremented, otherwise it will go to an infinite loop, right? So now here I will write document dot write here I will write by using h4 tag. So I have used h4 tag, and here I will write the table of right the table of I. So the table of I, this will be printed. Okay, so let me save the file and let me execute. Now you can see the table of 1 that has been printed, right? But here from the table of 2 to table of 6 to the last that is table of 10 only, we can see everything has not printed properly. Why? Because the value of j, while it was incremented to this 10, after that in the memory that value saved, because we were not getting outside the loop, right? So after executing of this particular internal do while loop, we have to here initialize the j value to 1, right? So here I have to initialize the j value to 1 every time when this loop will complete its execution. So j value is going to increment. Okay, just try to understand. J has been initialized to 1, right? So it will at least execute this code once, and j will counter every time j will be incremented by 1, and it will become, when it becomes 10, then also it will execute this line. After that increment will happen, means j will become 11. If j become 11, that means this will be checked that j is not less than 11. Now it will go out, it will exit out this loop. But next time when again the I will be incremented, and for that it will come inside and execution of this thing will happen. Then what will happen? J at least, you can see j at least this internal loop, as because the do while loop, at least it will execute once. So that is why you can see every time j became 11, after that j became 12, after that j became 13, and after that j became 14. Why? Because every time this condition has been executed 1, and in memory the previous j value which was there has been incremented by 1, and with that value it has been executed every time 1. See, so what we need to do, we will every time this loop complete its execution, I will initialize the j value to 1 again, so that it can again repeat from 1 to 10 until it become 11, and it will move out. This it will dissatisfy, it will just return false while this condition will be checked, and it will move out of this loop. Again it will check this condition, outer condition, if the I is less than 11 or not. So what I have done, I have just initialized the value of I, value of j to 1. So let me save it and let me execute. Now you can see all are fine. Table of 1, table of 2, table of 3, table of 4, 5, and you can see till the table of 10. So it has been done successfully. So we have successfully created the table of 1 to 10, and that is by using the do while loop. This is called exit control loop, and see what I have done. With very few lines of code I have just executed properly. Just see, we need not require to write repeatedly line of code. First, the outer loop will be executed, right, at least once. I value has been initialized to 1, right? So if the I value has been initialized to 1, so it will be shown first time the table of I, means the table of I. You can see every time the I value will be incremented, so this will be shown every time. Every time we will work in the outer loop, we will just go and work this particular outer loop, then this will be every time executed. You can see this line has been executed every time and I value has been incremented. So this is the value of I, table of 4, table of 5, this table of 6, this 4, 5, 6. These are the value of I which has been incremented every time we enter, and the value has been incremented. So now just go and see, every time this value has been incremented. See, table of 1, this all 1s are the value of I. Just see from here the value of I, right, and X that shows here X, right, and this is the value of J. J value has been incremented every time. This is when the inner loop is working. This is when the inner loop is working. Every time the J value has been incremented. See, J value has been incremented every time when this inner loop is working, right? And here equal to, this is a string has been shown. You can see equal to. After that you can see the multiplication value has been shown till here, 1 into 10, 1 into 10, 1 into 9, every time for each and every table, right? You can just go and check over here. This calculation is happening for each and every table. You can see this calculation is nicely happening, right? And every time I am going to new line, because this BR have given this BR, so we are moving to new line, right? And just go here. So after, this is how this execution is taking place, and when J is incrementing every time, it moves and increment the value of J until it reaches to 11. When J became 11, if J become 10, this execution will take place, and you can see over here J became 10, I, this is the value of I. Every time when J became 10, this execution will take place. That means this command will run till the J value is 10. Here J will become 11. Increment will happen after 10 times. J will become 11. Now at the exit control loop, this is exit control loop, this will be checked if the value of J is less than 11 or not. Now J became 11, the value of J is equal to 11, not less than 11. Now we will go and move out of this loop. Now again, when we move out of the loop, then J value will be initialized to 1. Why J value has been initialized to 1? Because next time when we will again go into this inner loop, that time we will again start the execution. So I will be incremented like this, and that will again complete the full table with the J again start from 1 to 10, right? In this way we have executed this exit control loop. I hope you have understand. So okay, so in the next class I will discuss a very important JavaScript topic, that is function, different functions we are going to discuss in the next class. So for today let us end up here, and if you have not subscribed the channel, you should subscribe the channel, so that when I will upload new videos you can be notified. Okay, thank you.